Be honest, have you been waiting for that perfect moment to finally get started on your huge dream? Maybe you keep saying, I'll start my business when I feel ready, or I'll just need to do a little bit more research before I really pull the trigger. If so, you're not alone. We've all been there. There's even a term for it. It's called paralysis analysis. When overthinking and waiting for the perfect moment and perfect conditions absolutely paralyzes us into inaction. You might fear you're choosing the wrong path, so you choose nothing at all. Days, weeks, even years can slip by while you're just getting ready to start, right? But here's the hard truth. Ready is a myth. You're waiting until you feel 100% confident and prepared, but you never will be. You'll be waiting forever, and the cost of waiting is way higher than you think. Research actually shows that people tend to regret the things that they didn't do far more than the things that they did do, even if those things didn't turn out well. And in one study, they found that 76% of people said that their biggest life regret was not taking an action that would have helped them realize their actual dreams or their ideal self. So think about that for a second. That one day that never comes can haunt you more than any other failure that you ever encounter in your life. So the cost of not starting, if you have a business idea or a passion project burning inside of you, consider this statistic. In 2021, a Harris poll found that 92% of people who seriously considered starting a business didn't. They never actually started. 92%. The vast majority of would-be entrepreneurs, which could be you right now, remain just that, would-be, stuck in the idea stage or the learning stage. And the number one reason? Fear. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of not being good enough, fear of their daddy telling them that it's not good enough, fear of the world ending so there doesn't matter if they make money, fear of AI, fear of everything. It's fear. And it's really tragic because sticking with the safe side of things, the safe status quo, out of fear can be just as damaging to your confidence and your life and your happiness. Sticking to the safe status quo out of fear can be just as damaging to your confidence, your life, and your overall happiness as a failed attempt at something. Just as damaging. So think about it. How many people stay in unfulfilling jobs or situations because it feels safer than trying and possibly failing? Probably far too many, and the statistics show that. But failure isn't the end. In fact, failure is often a better teacher than success. Take it from me, I've failed so many times in my life and I'm only 23. And by avoiding failure at all costs, you actually avoid those invaluable lessons and growth that come from those failures. Those failures are what actually help you progress. The way one entrepreneurship article put it, you learn more by trying than never trying in the first place. Every failed attempt is still a step forward. It gives you experience, gives you feedback, and way more resilience, which is most important. Meanwhile, not starting at all leaves you with literally nothing but what ifs. Nothing. 10 years from now, do you want to live your life just asking yourself, what if? That's miserable. What you could have been if you had taken that leap. Remember, no one ever feels truly ready at the starting point. Nobody. And if you wait until you do, chances are the opportunity will slip by you and you'll never actually get it done. The author Stephen Pressfield warns that by the time we're ready, it's too late. And I totally agree with that statement. Nobody starts at the finish line, okay? Have you ever run a road race? Think about how nervous you were at the start, no matter how ready you were, okay? You're never truly ready. But you're never gonna win the race if you don't start at the gun. Now let's bust a huge myth right now. Every successful person that you admire started as a beginner. They didn't have it all figured out at the beginning. Alex Hormozy didn't have 1 million subscribers. I didn't have $1 billion in my bank account, although I do now. Just kidding. Not even close. But Alex Hormozy started with 0. I started with 0. Everybody starts with 0. But some people actually start, and that's the difference. Nobody, and I mean nobody at all, has it all figured out at the starting gate. I mean, even my business is totally different. It is like 180 degrees from what I thought it would be when I first started it, okay? So you're never gonna have it all figured out. You're never gonna be able to predict your future, okay? But you can sculpt your future if you start. In other words, the act of starting is what actually trains you and transforms your business, transforms your dreams. And one of the most important habits of successful people is simply getting shit done. And history backs this up. Great achievements are often born just from starting, not from waiting, not from knowing exactly what to do. And consider a few examples. Colonel Sanders didn't begin franchising KFC, okay, until he was 62 years old. An age when most people are thinking about retirement. Statistically speaking, based on my viewership, you're probably younger than this. He had a simple chicken recipe and no fancy credentials or anything, yet he hustled door to door facing 1,000+ rejections just to get a restaurant to partner up with him, after he dared to start at an unconventional age. If Sanders had told himself at 64 years old, "It's too late for me to try," the world might never have had that tasty KFC. Imagine that. That famous fried chicken never would have happened if he didn't believe and just start. And the founder of Spanx, she started her now billion-dollar apparel company with just $5,000 in savings and zero experience. She had no experience in the fashion industry. In fact, she was selling fax machines at the time, door to door. She had a simple idea to solve a simple problem and just decided to go for it. Working out of her apartment, she spent those $5,000 and 2 years developing her prototype. And she learned as she went. She didn't start learning and then start 2 years later. And she often jokes about how naivety was her asset because she didn't know how things were supposed to be done. And that was her brilliant asset that allowed her to start. She just figured it out along the way. Her success came not from being ready, but from being brave enough to begin, or naive in her words. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak were 21 and 26 years old when they founded Apple Computer in 1976. They didn't even have $5,000. They dropped out of college, had $0, sold their van and a calculator to raise about $1,800, built their first Apple computers in a garage. They were not seasoned CEOs. They were scrappy kids with a passion. And if they waited until they felt ready, or until they were MBAs, or waited for the perfect plan, there would never have been iPhones like the iPhone I'm recording on right now. And the list of these stories goes on. Writers, artists, activists, every great person out there started before they were ready. That's just how it works. You're never gonna be ready, okay? And those people who weren't ready, they just kept going despite the doubts. They learned the job. They improved over time, and that's the difference between them and us. They're not smarter than us, some of them. Steve Jobs might be, some are smarter, but not everybody here. So I can guarantee Alex Hormozi did not start out smarter than you. When he was in the womb and you were 30 years old, he was not smarter than you, but he started earlier, and that's why he is world famous and extremely successful. Not because of his smarts. And remember, the first version of literally anything that you do, your first product, your first video, first draft, your first pitch, it might be a little embarrassing, and it should be embarrassing a year later when you look at it, and that's okay. I mean, go look at my first YouTube video. It's embarrassing. And Hoffman famously once said, if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product you've launched, you started too late. In other words, if you wait until your idea or skill is perfected, you waited too long. Your early attempts should feel cringeworthy when you look back at them, because that means that you've grown so far since then. So give yourself permission to be imperfect, okay? Perfectionism is just procrastination in a pretty outfit. So focus on progress over perfection. Learn by doing. The magic of starting before you're ready is that action creates its own momentum and clarity. When you start, you force yourself to learn and adapt. You don't have to see the whole path. You just have to see the next step in front of you, which is the first step. And one article on overcoming procrastination put it, starting before you're ready means taking action every day. You can read every single book about entrepreneurship. You can watch every single YouTube tutorial. You can watch all my YouTube videos on the 9x12 method. You can get multiple degrees, but you won't truly know how to run a business until you actually start it. You won't become a great public speaker by imagining speeches in your head while you lay in bed. You have to get on stage and probably stumble a few times. You're gonna have to stumble through a few talks, embarrass yourself a little bit, and because action is the best teacher. And Pressfield writes, don't wait until you've got your ducks in a row. Dive in now. Good things start to happen when you happen. You open yourself to opportunities and happy accidents that simply do not occur when you're just laying in your bed thinking about things. Doors appear only after you step forward, and clarity comes from engagement, not from thought. And yes, you're definitely gonna fail, and you're definitely gonna face rejection early on, and that's normal. But that failure and that rejection is pushing you forward. You're learning from every single piece of it. At iteration gets better and better. The business might flop the first time, but it could lead you to an even better idea or teach you something priceless. Many successful entrepreneurs credit their failures for giving them the exact insights that they needed to be as successful as they are today. The sooner you'll refine your approach. So honestly, shoot for mistakes. See a mistake as a success from now on. Train your mind to see failures as successes because the failures are what are actually pushing you forward. If you are just succeeding, you are being way too safe and you will not get as far as you could if you were failing. I mean, I've gone through the same thing. Every morning back in the day, I used to wake up with that business idea on my mind. I think about the possibilities, all the boats I could buy, all the fun I could have if I just started the business and made the money, but I never moved forward on it. And I just kept telling myself I was researching or waiting for the right time. I was playing around with AI, trying to build it to be as good as possible, just to never launch. I was too comfortable with that routine. I was too scared I'd mess up and it wouldn't be good enough and everyone would see me fail. So I just kept postponing that start and just making it better, when in reality I was just procrastinating. And I myself look back on that a few years ago and think, wow, if I had just started then, I would be so much further ahead. So I'm one of those, 90-something% of people who now live with the regret of not starting earlier, rather than living with the regret of failing, because that just doesn't happen. Nobody regrets failing. But I want you to imagine yourself at 80 years old looking back. Would you regret at least trying and possibly failing when you're 80 years old, when you're wise? Or would you regret having tried it at all? The answer is obviously clear. You would regret not trying. You're never going to regret trying something when you're old and wise, okay? Because 80-year-old you is that little bit wiser because they took that step. And if you're already 81 years old, look back on your life, on things that you kept telling yourself you would do, but you never did, and live in that regret for a little bit. Think about how you feel about that, how you feel about not actually taking that action and where that could have led you. Don't let it happen again. If you're 81 and you're still driven enough to watch this video, learn from the past and also comment some wisdom down below for a young lad like me. Whoa, did something change? What the? That looks different. Guys, comment down below what you think. Let me know if I should shave the mustache too, maybe. Comment that down below. And now back to what I was talking about. Now, maybe you're finally fired up by this idea of starting before you're ready, finally, and you're thinking, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what to start. I don't know what to do. I don't have a specific interest or plan. I just know that I need a change in my life. Or maybe you do have a plan, but you need a simple way to kickstart it. If you don't know where you're going with your life and you need a simple side hustle to give you direction, one that can earn you thousands of dollars in your first month potentially, and potentially help you quit your job one day, it could grow into a six-figure business, then listen closely. I want you to check out the video that's about to pop up on your screen or linked in the description, where I break down step-by-step exactly how to start the perfect side hustle called the 9x12 Postcard Method. And this is a powerful yet straightforward side hustle that can potentially earn you $5,000 in your first month, like it did for me, just by talking to local businesses. And you can do this over email, phone, it's simple. And I'll show you step by step in that video exactly how it works and how I and others have done it to make thousands of dollars every month, starting with no experience, no skills, and we're all kind of stupid inside. Yet we still make it work. So don't let uncertainty stop you. If you need that push and a concrete game plan, click on this video and let me guide you through the 9x12 method from the very first step that gets you out of analysis paralysis and into action. And remember, your journey will not start itself. It never has. You have to take that leap yourself. So start now, before you're ready. You'll be amazed at where just starting can take you. I'm rooting for you as always, and get after it. Let's go.